And Eugene, you just came back from Busan to cover a very exciting event, especially for film lovers like myself. You were at the Busan International Film Festival.
You're absolutely right, Soa. So last week, I headed down to Busan in the southeast of the country to cover the opening of the 29th Busan International Film Festival. And as you mentioned, it's a big event, often called Asia's biggest film event of the year. Now, this year, a total of 278 films are being screened across 7 theaters in Busan, with the festival slated to end this Friday, that is October 11th. So for this week, as the festival has just passed its midway point, I wanted to introduce some of the groundbreaking films and emerging directors who are bringing fresh perspectives to the screen. Let's first take a look. When the Busan International Film Festival began 28 years ago, its goal was to become the top film festival in Asia and introduce Korean cinema to the world. But as the festival grew, so did its vision. Today, BIFF is a hub for Asian films to connect with global audiences, bringing unknown talents like Korean-American director Soo Kim into the spotlight. Kim, a former television commercial producer, made her directorial debut in 2020 with a documentary that earned her a Peabody Award nomination. Her film, The Last of the Sea Woman, showcased at this year's BIFF, tells the story of South Korea's female divers, the Haenyeo, a community Kim has admired since childhood.
They were so bold and so confident and so fearless, and I just really fell in love with this kind of different version of Korean womanhood that I had seen in them. All the women I could see that were in the ocean looked like harmonies. And she said, that's when she said, this is probably it. I think we're the last generation of the Haenyeo. That's the moment I decided someone has to document this culture before it's too late.
Kim's film shows the daily lives of these divers who continue to work well into their 60s, 70s, and even 80s, diving into the sea to harvest seafood and maintaining a tradition they take immense pride in. As she spent more time with them, Kim realized that the biggest threat to their culture wasn't time.
When I started to learn more about how the environmental crisis has really been affecting their day-to-day work, how it's absolutely disrupting the ecosystem of the ocean, how the marine life is dying, and how it's really becoming one of the major threats to the continuation of their culture. So I wanted to show that.
Pollution has wiped out everything, the conches, the shellfish. There's nothing left to catch, and we can't make a living anymore.
Another director whose dream came true at this year's BIFF is Yutaka Matsushige, best known for starring in the hit Japanese drama Solitary Gourmet. The film adaptation of the same show, which made its world premiere at this year's BIFF, marks his first appearance as a filmmaker.
I always had a passion for cinema because I wanted to make movies. Becoming a director was harder than I imagined, but incredibly rewarding. In the drama series, I just showed up and filmed at pre-selected restaurants. This time, I had to handle everything, from planning to scripting.
The film follows Koro, the main character, on a culinary journey from Paris to Korea, offering audiences the same simple pleasure that made the drama series a hit across East Asia.
The series is more like a documentary, showing a man simply enjoying a meal on an empty stomach. I think that's what made it appealing, especially for viewers tired of typical drama formulas. If this series can serve as a bridge between Japan and Korea, I'd be happy to dedicate myself to it.
With films like these introducing fresh perspectives and untold stories, the Busan International Film Festival welcomes you to experience the diverse voices of Asian cinema right up until October 11th.
Eugene, I can imagine that you could have been a little disappointed that you couldn't be till the end of the event.
Right, I wish I could, until the closing ceremony.
But I'm really thankful that you're here in Seoul back with us to cover this for us. So the two titles that are definitely worth remembering is The Last of the Sea Women and The Solitary Gourmet. But Eugene, for our viewers who want to watch these movies, how can they watch them and where? You don't necessarily have to be in Busan?
Right, so let's first start with The Last of the Sea Woman. Now, this movie actually made its world premiere at the Toronto Toronto International Film Festival last month. And for our global viewers who are watching, as mentioned earlier, it will be released on Apple TV Plus, the streaming platform, this Friday, October 11th. So you can catch the movie at that streaming platform even though you're not in Busan. But for those who are actually visiting Busan for the film festival, you actually have one last chance left to catch the movie in the theaters. This is this Thursday, October 10th at 5 p.m. at the CGV Centum City in Haeundae District.
This Thursday, okay. And what about the Solitary Gourmet?
So as mentioned in my report, the Solitary Gourmet actually made its world premiere at this year's BIFF. It was last Thursday, and it wrapped up its film screening at this year's BIFF last Friday. But you don't really have to be disappointed because you missed the chance. That's because the film is actually set to hit the theaters in Japan next January. And for those who are here in Korea, you can catch the Solitary Gourmet, the movie version, next March.
That is absolutely great news. Now, apart from these two films, you mentioned there is a staggering over 270 movies being screened at this year's BIFF. So there are still 4 days left until the festival ends. We should quickly go down there, I'd say. So for those wanting to check out some of these films, how can they do that?
Well, Walter, I want to tell you that clock is ticking because there is only 4 days left until the closing ceremony. But there are two ways for you to reserve the tickets for this year's Busan International Film Festival. First is through online reservation. You can just easily visit the official website of the Busan International Film Festival's official ticket reserving website. And it's just identical to reserving a movie ticket at the theater. So that's a very easy option. And for those who are actually visiting Busan, you can buy the tickets on site as well. There are 6 ticket booths across the city, 2 at the Busan Cinema Center, 1 each at CGV Centum City, Lotte Cinema Centum City, the Korean Film Council, and the Megabox Busan Theater. So we should all write that down if you have plans to visit Busan until the film festival concludes this Friday.
We will definitely keep note of that. So thank you very much for that wonderful coverage, Eugene.
My pleasure.